All right, ready to explore something incredible. Today, we're heading straight to the Himalayas, to Himachal Pradesh.
Beautiful area.
It is, but we're going beyond just the scenery. We're diving into how the mountains, the valleys, even the caves there are all woven into Hindu mythology.
It really is remarkable. This region, it's like a living tapestry of ancient beliefs.
Not
Epic tales, all right there.
And you've brought some amazing excerpts, haven't you? Stuff that shows these connections, like deities, Shiva Rama, even journeys from the Mahabharata.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating to me is how these myths, they give us a glimpse into the spiritual significance of Himachal Pradesh. It's considered sacred, powerful.
Okay, so before we get into specifics, let's zoom out for a sec. Big picture. Himachal Pradesh, literally a abode of snow. What makes it such a breeding ground for these incredible stories?
Well, picture it. The Himalayas, those towering peaks, rushing rivers, dense forests. It's awe-inspiring, mysterious, the perfect setting for tales of gods and heroes.
Yeah, it's like the landscape itself is whispering these ancient stories.
It is. And when you look at the specific deities tied to Himachal Pradesh, it gets even more interesting. Take Lord Shiva, one of Hinduism's most powerful gods.
Right.
His abode, Mount Kailash, is right in the heart of these mountains.
Wow, so we're talking about the literal home of a god. That's a powerful image.
It is.
And I bet that's why there are so many Shiva temples all over Himachal Pradesh.
Absolutely. Temples like the ones at Bajnath, Chintpurni, Naina Devi, they're places of worship, yes, but they're also like physical reminders that Shiva is present there. The landscape is infused with his energy.
It's like each temple is a doorway into a different part of Shiva's story.
Exactly.
But it's not just Shiva, is it? We also have stories about the Pandavas from the Mahabharata.
Definitely.
Their exile after the Kurukshetra war. How do they fit into this region?
So picture this. These 5 brothers, they've lost everything. They're wandering through this rugged terrain. Places like Kullu, Manali, Barmer, those were key stops on their journey. Each place with its own challenges, its own spiritual lessons.
So it wasn't just physical, it was spiritual too.
Exactly. They met sages, practiced austerities, faced all these trials that changed them. And what's interesting is, even in exile, they were still encountering Shiva. For example, in Barmer, there's the Brahmapura temple, major Shiva temple.
So even in their hardship, even in their loss, Shiva's presence, his lessons about resilience, about transformation, were still there.
Yes, exactly. It shows that even when things are tough, there's always a way to grow spiritually.
That's a powerful message for sure. But it's not just about the masculine energy, though, is it?
No, not at all.
Himachal Pradesh is also a huge center for Shakti worship, the feminine divine.
Absolutely. The goddess energy is so strong there. And the Naina Devi temple plays a big role in that, dedicated to Parvati, Shiva's consort. Marks the spot where Sati's eyes fell.
Hold on, who's Sati and why are we talking about her body parts falling?
Oh, great question. Sati was Shiva's first wife. Tragic story, she self-immolated after a conflict with her father. Shiva was heartbroken, carried her body across the land. As he did, parts of her body fell to earth, creating these sacred sites, Shakti Peeths.
Wow, that's intense.
It is.
So these Shakti Peeths are like pieces of the goddess scattered around, each one with a certain energy, a certain attribute.
Exactly. And Himachal Pradesh has several, like the Jwalamukhi temple. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, tell me about it.
So the name, it means volcano of flames. It's famous for its eternal flames. They represent the goddess's tongue.
Wow, eternal flames, the goddess's tongue. It's like the landscape itself is showing the myth, embodying it.
Exactly. That's what's so captivating about Himachal Pradesh. The myths, they aren't just stories, they're woven right into the region itself. And speaking of weaving, there's the Chintpurni temple. Shows the power of goddesses, how diverse they are.
Ah, yes, Chintpurni, the wish-fulfilling goddess. A completely different side of the feminine divine, isn't it?
It is. Shows how the feminine divine has this whole spectrum of energy, of attributes. Nurturing, benevolent, but also fierce, transformative.
Okay, so we've got these powerful deities linked to Himachal Pradesh, but there's got to be more, right?
Oh, so much more.
What about the specific locations and their own unique stories? Those details really bring the myths to life.
Absolutely, that's where we'll dive in next.
Already hooked. What we've touched on so far, how the landscape and the myths are intertwined, it's incredible.
It really is.
And these Shakti Peeths, the idea of pieces of the goddess scattered across the land.
That's powerful, isn't it?
It really is. And each one, each story, it's like a window into the spiritual heart of Himachal Pradesh.
Exactly. Each site, each story offers a unique perspective. It's amazing, isn't it, how these big stories about deities like Shiva and the goddess, they intertwine with specific places.
Yeah.
It brings the myths, like, down to earth.
Right, like we were just talking about those Shakti peas, but let's get into some of those specific stories, those places. Like Manali, what makes it so mythologically significant?
Ah, Manali. Well, it's named after Manu, the first man in Hindu mythology.
Right.
So it's believed to be the mythical birthplace of humanity. After a great flood, this is where life began anew. Imagine that, a real place, tied to the story of creation.
It's not just a mountain town, it's the cradle of humanity, according to these tales.
It is.
And then you have that temple, the Hidimba Devi temple, dedicated to Bhima's wife.
Exactly. Adds another layer to Manali's story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Reminds us that it's not just about gods and goddesses, but also about the relationships between mortals and the divine.
Like each temple, each story adds a new dimension to how we understand the region.
Okay, so we have Manali as the birthplace of humanity. What about other spots? Kullu Valley, that has strong ties to the Ramayana, doesn't it?
It does. Believed to be linked to Sita's captivity during her time in Lanka. Places like Pondiropa and Sita Gufa, they're said to be associated with this epic tale.
Wow, okay. So we're talking about one of the most famous stories in Hinduism. But it's not just about the events themselves, is it? There's a deeper meaning there, right? Oh, absolutely. See, Sita's captivity, it's often seen as a metaphor. The soul's imprisonment by worldly desires, attachments, her liberation that represents the soul's journey toward freedom, enlightenment.
So the Kullu Valley itself, the landscape, the peaks and valleys, it could be seen as a reflection of our inner journey, the challenges, the triumphs on that path to spiritual liberation.
Exactly. It's about seeing the outer world as a mirror to what's happening inside us.
Yeah.
And speaking of journeys, remember we talked about the Pandavas' exile? Well, their path through Himachal Pradesh, it actually intersects with the Ramayana in a really interesting way.
Oh, tell me more.
So local tradition says that the Pandavas, during their exile, they visited the Kullu Valley. They even performed a yagna there, a sacred ritual, to seek blessings for Sita's release.
So even while they were going through their own hardship, they were still trying to help others alleviate suffering. That's powerful, that compassion, that interconnectedness.
It is. Shows that even when we struggle, we still have the capacity to help, to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. But it's not just Shiva, the Pandavas, and the Ramayana. Himachal Pradesh is connected to other major figures too.
Oh, right. We haven't said much about Rama himself. Anything beyond the Kullu Valley connection?
There is the Dolra Temple near Chamba. That's dedicated to Rama. Beautiful example of how his presence is felt throughout the region. Really solidifies those ties to the Ramayana.
Wow, so Shiva, the Pandavas, Rama, it's like a who's who of Hindu mythology, all in this one region. Anyone else we should know about?
What about Balarama?
Balarama, wait, Krishna's brother. He's connected to Himachal Pradesh too.
He is. The village of Sirmoor, that's believed to be his birthplace. Another example of how this region is intertwined with the legends of some of Hinduism's most beloved figures.
It's mind-blowing. Every corner we turn, there's another layer of mythology.
Right, and just when you think you've got it all figured out, there's more. Remember the Bees River we talked about with Vyasa?
Of course, the river where the sage who composed the Mahabharata, where he bathed.
Well, there's a cave near Manali, the Vyas Gufa. It's believed to be where he actually wrote the epic. Imagine that, the physical space where one of Hinduism's most important texts may have been born.
You can actually visit the cave where the Mahabharata might have been written. That's incredible, like stepping back in time into the heart of the story.
That's the magic of Himachal Pradesh. Blurs the lines, doesn't it, between myth and reality. You experience these stories in a real way, not just reading about them, but feeling their presence.
I'm starting to understand why it's considered so sacred. It's more than just mountains and valleys. It's like a living tapestry of these ancient beliefs, these practices.
It is.
The landscape itself feels infused with the energy of these stories.
It really does. That energy, that sense of the sacred, it's everywhere, from the grand temples to the smallest villages. It's woven into life itself in Himachal Pradesh.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Shiva, the Pandavas, Rama, even Balarama, that masculine energy. But we touched on the feminine divine, too. How is that expressed in Himachal Pradesh?
Well, we've talked about Shakti Peeths, the Jwalamukhi temple with its flames. But there's another fascinating aspect, the Mahavidyas.
Mahavidyas. Remind me, what are those again?
So the Mahavidyas, they're 10 fierce forms of the goddess Kali, each one representing a different aspect of her power. They're often depicted as fearsome, unconventional, challenge those traditional ideas of what femininity and divinity are.
So we're moving past the gentle, benevolent image of the goddess here.
We are. The Mahavidyas, they represent the raw, untamed energy of the feminine divine. Creation, destruction, wisdom, power, fear, liberation. It's all there.
And where do they fit into Himachal Pradesh?
The Kangar Valley, with its dramatic beauty, its ancient temples, that's particularly associated with the Mahavidyas. Their energy is believed to be very strong there.
So it's not just about gentle goddesses and wishes being granted. There's a darker, more powerful side to the feminine divine at play, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that duality, the light and shadow, it's key to understanding the full spectrum of the goddess's power.
It's like Himachal Pradesh shows us a complete picture of the divine feminine. Nurturing mother, fierce protector, ultimate destroyer. It's all there.
It is. And that complexity, that makes exploring these goddesses even more fascinating.
Okay, so powerful deities, epic journeys, sacred sites. It's a lot to take in. Can we step back for a moment, look at the bigger picture? What does all this mean for the people who live in Himachal Pradesh today?
That's a great question. It takes us beyond the mythology, into lived experience. You see, for them, these stories, they aren't just ancient tales. They're part of their culture, their DNA.
We can't just treat them as myths, right?
No, not at all.
They're living narratives, still shaping how people understand themselves, their place in the world.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Himachal Pradesh so special. It's not a museum of mythology. It's a living embodiment of it.
Okay, so how do these ancient stories actually show up in everyday life?
Well, for one, the festivals. We talked about Kullu Dussehra, but there are tons throughout the year, each tied to specific deities, myths, legends.
So it's not just celebrating religious figures, but also about reliving those stories, embodying the characters, connecting to the deeper meaning.
Exactly. And it's not just festivals. The temples themselves, huge role in daily life. Not just places to worship, but community centers, gathering places, sources of guidance, support.
The mythology is woven into their society.
It is. And even deeper than that, the stories influence everything. Naming traditions, agricultural practices, even how people interact with nature.
It's not just believing the myths, it's living them.
Right.
Their whole lives have this sense of wonder, magic.
They do. And that's what makes exploring Himachal Pradesh so enriching. You see how mythology can shape not just individual lives, but whole communities. Gives them meaning, purpose, connection to something larger than themselves.
Their culture itself is a reflection of these ancient stories. And speaking of reflections, what about us? We've been on this incredible journey. What can we take away? What stands out to you the most?
You know, for me, it's the reminder that mythology isn't just entertainment.
Yeah.
Or escapism. It's about finding meaning, finding purpose, finding connection, especially in a world that can feel so chaotic, disconnected.
I agree. It's about seeing the divine in the everyday, the sacred in the ordinary, and recognizing that these stories, even if they seem ancient, they still hold this profound wisdom. They can still guide us on our own journeys. It's amazing to think about, isn't it, how these myths, these legends, they're just part of life in Himachal Pradesh. But you mentioned something earlier about how these big narratives, the ones we think of with Hindu mythology, they might have local variations, like folk tales, specific to certain communities.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Mythology, it's not this fixed thing. It changes, adapts over time across different places.
So alongside the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, there could be these smaller stories, reflecting the experiences, the beliefs of a particular village, maybe even a single family.
Exactly. Imagine a village high up in the mountains. They might have their own unique take on a myth we all know. Maybe emphasizing a local deity or weaving in details from their daily life.
So each community adds its own little piece to the bigger picture of Hindu mythology.
Right. And those variations, they aren't contradictions. They actually add to the original stories, give them more depth, more nuance.
Yeah, I can see that. A village that relies on farming, they might have stories about gods of rain, fertility. While a community near a forest, maybe their tales are about spirits protecting the trees, the animals.
Exactly. The myths become a way for people to understand their environment, the beauty of it, but also the dangers. It's a way to deal with challenges, celebrate what they have.
So it's like a living guidebook, based on their own little part of the world.
It is. And these local beliefs, they shape everything. How they farm, their social customs, even how they raise their kids. It's about making the sacred part of everyday life.
Finding that meaning, that purpose in every little thing.
Yes. So with all these layers of mythology, the big stories and the small local ones, how do people in Himachal Pradesh make sense of it all? Do they try to reconcile different versions or just accept that there are many perspectives?
That's a good question.
It probably depends on the person, the community. Some might focus on those big narratives, see them as the ultimate truth. Others might connect more with the local versions, the ones closer to their own experience.
And then there are those who just embrace it all. See the different versions not as conflicts, but as different parts of a bigger, more complex system of beliefs.
Absolutely. It's like realizing there are many paths up the same mountain. Each path is different, has its own challenges, but they all get you to the top.
It's about recognizing that truth can be expressed in so many ways. And embracing that diversity, it helps us understand better, not less.
Exactly. That's one of the beautiful things about mythology. It's not about finding all the answers. It's about asking the right questions, exploring, figuring out our own understanding of the world, our place in it.
So, after this deep dive into Himachal Pradesh, its landscape, its legends, all of it, where are we now? What do we take away from this?
I think we're left with a sense of wonder, a deeper appreciation for the power of stories, and maybe a new curiosity about the hidden mythology all around us, even in our own lives.
Absolutely. We started with those Himalayan peaks, ended up with these intimate village tales, from powerful gods to everyday rituals. And through it all, we saw how these ancient stories still shape lives, beliefs, even whole communities.
And to everyone listening, we encourage you, keep exploring. What stories shape your world? What myths speak to you? And how do those beliefs guide you, your choices, your way of being?
Those are great questions to think about. And the stories of Himachal Pradesh, they've given us a starting point for that journey of self-discovery.
So until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring. Let the magic of mythology be your guide.